All right, it looks like everybody's with us. Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first session for virtual Volusia Days at the Capitol. For this session, we'll be dealing with transportation, roads, and infrastructure. And just to remind everybody, like with all of these sessions, if you have any questions, please add them to the comment section. And if we have a chance at the end, we'll try and get those to our presenter, but we will be trying to wrap these sessions up 5 minutes before the hour, a half hour, so that we can get on to our next session. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Miriam Giabi, who's going to introduce our speaker. Miriam.
Thank you so much, Len. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I have a few things to say about Secretary Thibault, but I'm going to read something first. Kevin Thibault was named Secretary of the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, by Governor Ron DeSantis on January 2019. As Secretary, he oversees the lead agency in a state government with the responsibility to coordinate the planning and development of a safe, viable, and balanced transportation system, serving all regions of the state and to ensure all capabilities of all the components, including multimodal facilities. Secretary Thibault has prioritized the implementation of several initiatives centered on improving safety, enhancing mobility, and inspiring innovation within the agency. Secretary Thibault is passionate about mentorship and building a diverse workforce for the future of Florida's transportation system. Most importantly, Secretary Thibault has been my friend for a number of years. He always has led with, whether on private or DOT, he always led with class and integrity. Secretary Thibault lives in actually Central Florida, and his passion for Central Florida is very obvious by his appointment of Secretary Perdue to Central Florida District 5. We have a great team at DOT to take the Central Florida to the next level. And I can't thank Secretary Thibault enough for his availability, for his guidance, and for his interest in Volusia County. Secretary, take it from here.
Wow, you took up all the time. Any questions? Anyway, thanks. Hey, nice to see all of you again, although it's virtual. It's a little different. I will tell you, those of you who have walked the Capitol, you know that it's pretty quiet walking through the Capitol building. The only way you can really get around is if you have one of these. So it's really different this year. But I'm glad we're still doing the people's business here in the state of Florida, and especially here in Tallahassee. And again, thanks, Miriam, for the introduction, and glad to be here to talk a little bit about what's going on here at the DOT. And as Ken, thank you for putting it up. So if you can go to the next slide. So I wanted to touch on a few things going on statewide, and then clearly I'll drill down to District 5 and more importantly into Volusia. So you probably have heard, especially in the district, talk about what we consider is the fabric of DOT, really about what's woven into our fabric day in and day out, and it's the vital few, and really our vision for Florida and how it supports our mission of moving people and goods throughout the state. So you see here, there's 4 medallions. The first one's improving safety, and safety is the top priority for the DOT, and it is a vital component in our day-to-day operations. One fatality on a transportation system is one too many. And so the department is committed to doing everything possible to provide a fatality-free transportation system, with our primary goal is Vision Zero, zero fatalities. Second medallion there is about enhancing mobility and how DOT remains dedicated to continuing to enhance our state's transportation system to fit the current as well as the future needs of our residents and our visitors. Whether that's through the expansion or enhancement of existing roadways, or looking toward technological improvements, or increasing multimodal options, we are committed to building the Florida of the future today. The third medallion talks about inspiring innovation, and the department consistently uses innovation to creatively solve our transportation challenges, throughout the state, as well as becoming a leader in transportation across the country. FDOT is using its investments in emerging technologies to improve safety and increase mobility on our roadways and our transportation system. And finally, the last one, which is called fostering talent, which is more inward facing. It's a focus at DOT that we know we can only achieve this by continuing to recruit the best and the brightest transportation professionals in order to provide that safe transportation system for all users. So we are building a workforce for today, tomorrow, and the foreseeable future. So over the last year, Florida has continued to grow. We all have seen it. I know it's happening in Volusia County. We currently have over 22 million residents, and an additional 800 people a day continue to call Florida home. So the department will continue to apply the elements of the vital few as we plan for the mobility needs of our residents and the million visitors who come to Florida each year. So as Ken shows on the next slide, budget impacts and our funding sources, clearly despite the continued growth of our state, the department continues to face a challenge as it relates to motor fuel consumption, and it's substantially lower than prior projections. So last August, the Revenue Estimating Conference, which is a series of economists here up in Tallahassee, met and projected that we would see a $1.4 billion shortfall through fiscal year 2026, including more than $700 million of that just in the current fiscal year. While projections in December, when they met, were slightly higher, the net projected revenue decrease through fiscal year 26 is still $1 billion lower than what was projected just in a little over a year ago in January 2020. So to balance the revenue shortfall, the department has reduced planned commitments and our operating budget. We've adjusted bonding levels to protect as much of the work program as possible. We also reduced planned projects rather than stopping active construction projects and those under production already. We did this in coordination with our local partners and truly appreciate the efforts done by our local partners, including the MPO there in Volusia. So the current environment we find ourselves in is very unique, and thankfully we are already seeing a gradual rebound. We expect to receive another updated estimate later this month. This slide gives you a snapshot of the department's their sources of funding. And you'll see here there's three primary parts of that pie. First is state revenues. It always runs around 50%. And that's projected by, and that's from the gas tax revenue, motor vehicle license fees, initial vehicle registration fees, etc. The federal funding is usually about 25%. And it includes our federal apportionments and our obligating authority. And then finally, about 18% of the pie is toll facilities like the Turnpike System, Alligator Alley, Sunshine Skyway, and the like. And those are projected by independent traffic and revenue studies. While most of the focus is usually on state funding, all three sources have been impacted over the last year, which in turn has affected the work program. Next slide. So we're preparing for that funding shift. Those of you who are participating in Volusia Days events in Tallahassee over the last couple of years will likely remember me talking about the fact that the department is primarily funded by the gas tax revenue. And we are expecting a peak in those revenues to occur in the very near future, followed by a decline. The vehicles on our roadways and the mobility choices our road users are making is changing and changing rapidly. Over the last several years, it has been clear that gas tax revenues will peak and begin to decline by the end of the current decade due to the continuous emergence of electric vehicles on our roadways and the higher fuel efficiency standards that are in place. Already, vehicle manufacturers are beginning to make the EV shift, and as of December of last year, there were 56 various models of electric vehicles in the United States alone, offered by numerous manufacturers like Kia, Nissan, and the like. Ford recently announced that it will sell electric vehicles exclusively in Europe by 2030. They are getting ready to issue the first F-150 electric truck next year. Other manufacturers have announced similar changes, like Volvo, for example, plans to be 100% electric by 2030 and will introduce a new family of electric cars that only be offered online for purchase. Land Rover has announced that the Jaguar brand will be entirely electric by just 2025, and their full lineup of cars will be by 2030. FedEx has announced its intention to have all-electric fleet by 2040, and the current administration up in Washington has announced that it will replace the entire U.S. government's fleet of 650,000 vehicles with electric models. In addition, U.S. DOT Secretary Pete Buttigieg has acknowledged that due to the increasing electrification of vehicles, the gas tax at the federal level is not a long-term solution and has discussed the merits of a bunch of different options. So we expect over the coming months, as well as years, the current administration will be continuing discussion of a replacement at the federal level or national level, the gas tax replacement. So we are entering the beginning of what we call the end of the ICE age, ICE standing for internal combustion engine. So in 2020, Florida had more than 60,000 registered electric vehicles. Our adoption rate of 0.41% is lower than the national average of about 2%. But as this graph shows, what current analysis are predicting related to the growth of EVs on our roadways. Under the aggressive model, you can expect ownership to be as high as 35% of the fleet by 2040. So what does that mean to gas tax revenues? By 2040, if nothing changes, we can expect a reduction in gas tax revenues anywhere from 8.4%, which is the conservative scenario, to as high as 30% under the aggressive scenario. All of this will be occurring as Florida continues to grow and contributing to increasing demands on our transportation system. Next slide. So on January 28th, Governor DeSantis released his Florida Leads budget proposal for fiscal year 21-22. The governor's focus again on continuing to position Florida as a leader in the nation as we continue to recover from the pandemic. The $96.6 billion budget builds on key investments while safeguarding taxpayer dollars and maintaining strong fiscal reserves. The proposed budget also contains significant investments in our transportation infrastructure to relieve traffic congestion, ensure efficiency, and improve safety on our highways for Floridians and the millions of tourists who come here each and every year. So this year's proposed budget for the department totals $10.4 billion and makes available $9.47 billion for the State Transportation Work Program, which provides vital funding to increase infrastructure capacity, new highway construction, bridge repairs, seaport, aviation, and transit program improvements, and a number of safety initiatives. The budget also makes available $50 million for the Economic Development Transportation Fund, known as the Road Fund, and this provides funding for projects that will facilitate economic development by eliminating location-specific transportation problems, such as providing additional access roads, signalization, and the like. Next slide. So I mentioned earlier, close to 800 people a day come into Florida and make it home, and a lot of those people are looking to relocate to the Central Florida area. So our District 5 team is very engaged with Volusia County and the critical connections it provides. Over the years, we have worked very closely with Jim Cameron, Marion Giabi, and others to truly understand the vision and needs of Volusia County. Next slide. What I want to do is highlight a few significant projects that have either occurred or are on the way within the area. So we're very proud of the complex I95 I4 interchange construction project that recently opened. The completion of this project has allowed for safer travel through an area that previously experienced a high volume of weaving as motorists exited I-95 south to the I-4 corridor. Some signage concerns have been shared regarding the off-ramps, and the district is working on implementing several adjustments later this spring. The local business community and the ISB coalition were instrumental in helping the district understand that additional work was needed to help first-time visitors navigate this new interchange. Next slide. There are 3 important interchanges that will be moving towards construction in Volusia County. These interchanges are very important to the region and will provide improved safety, mobility for residents and visitors. The preliminary design work is underway, as well as the project development and environment studies for US 1 and LPGA Boulevard, and Pioneer Trail is in the design phase. We are working closely with the county and public on each of these projects to ensure we are building projects the local communities want and need. Next slide. I wanted to mention the East ISB project because I know that is very important to the ISB coalition. Right-of-way acquisition is going well, but it does take some time. And the district has also redesigned the intersection to the enhanced signal based upon the feedback we received from the community. We realize that the East ISB corridor project leading to A1A is a key project for vitality in Daytona Beach. Collaboration with the county and the city was key for this project and to ensure that the right project is constructed. The ISB coalition has been instrumental in this project and others in the area. Construction is currently planned to begin in early 2023. We actually have a letting at the end of calendar year 2022. However, if the right-of-way process continues to go well and moves more quickly than anticipated, the department will be able to move the letting up to an earlier date, and we'll keep you posted on that. Next slide. We all know that A1A is a critical corridor that attracts residents and visitors year-round. Some of you may be aware of the recent report, Dangerous by Design. They released their report for 2021 that came out last week and indicated that 7 of America's 10 most dangerous metro areas for pedestrians are located within Florida. But you may not be aware that the report fails to account for factors such as population growth, demographic changes, weather conditions, and the amount of time people spend walking, which ultimately results in an inaccurate portrayal of the safety conditions across Florida's transportation system. In addition, the report compares states and local and metropolitan areas across the nation, but does not take into account important geographic and demographic nuances, resulting in a one-size-fits-all methodology. I say that to reiterate that safety is at the root of all that we do. Achieving our target of 0 fatalities is a collaborative duty, and in conjunction with our safety partners, the department will continue to design and build a transportation system that meets the unique needs of all Floridians and our visitors. So improving pedestrian safety along A1A corridor is a priority for the department, and we will continue to work with the county and the city to ensure we address the right issues with the right solutions for the area to keep all users safe. Next slide. So I have visited, I guess it was, we kind of look at, it was pre-pandemic, I remember that. So I visited Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, ERAU, and have seen the growth and vitality of the area. The original plan for Clyde Morris was to add additional capacity by increasing the number of lanes. Well, we now know that the community doesn't want that. The project team has been working on a complete street, smart streets concept that will incorporate the current 4 lanes with bicycle pedestrian features to successfully blend all modes of transportation within the corridor, but one that's safe again for all the users. So Clyde Morris, by the way, is an excellent example of reimagining a corridor based on updated goals of the surrounding stakeholders and the community, and I'm truly listening to each and every one of them. Next slide. Sunrail, the land, Phase 2 North. The recent decision by the department to move forward with Sunrail Phase 2 North was made possible by the Volusia County Council's support, and it's a great step in the right direction to further connect the Central Florida region. The design-build procurement will begin in June of this year, with a chosen design-build team underway in early 2022 and opening to riders hopefully by mid-2024. That's the goal. And with that, I think next slide, yep. I will open up to any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Did we have any questions? If we do, if you could submit them through the chat feature, we'll get them to the secretaries, and I know we're trying to wrap this up here in the next 2-3 minutes. So please, any of our attendees, if you have any questions. Miriam, did you have any questions that you think our attendees might want to hear?
Len, I think the secretary was hoping that you just would not mention my name. No, but I just want to make a comment for secretary to let him know how our Chamber of Commerce has been such a strong player in all of these funding, the projects that he's working on, and he has the district secretary to work on. I just want to thank Chamber. Secretary knows that because he and I often talk about it, but I really want to recognize Chairman, yourself first, Nancy Kiefer, Jim Cameron, and all the employees of the chamber, that how much help they have given us throughout the years. But one thing Secretary said that I just want to let him know, I'm going to come after that, is when you talked about the economic development funding, the 50 million, Secretary, A1A for us is right now is a major artery. Do you think it's something that qualify for a funding like road fund?
That's a great question, Miriam. So, there's going to be some criteria that's going to be put in place to be able to put these grants forward, and we'll be working with our partners at the Department of Economic Opportunity on that. And so clearly A1A, like you just mentioned, is one of those projects that helps facilitate a lot of different things in the area. So hopefully, if the criteria is right and it works well, that can be submitted for that opportunity.
Right. Would you see us working with the district or Tallahassee?
No, it'll be with the district.
Okay.
You got to get that district support in the sense of how that, in this case, meshes with everything else going on, right?
Yeah.
That would be my question if I evaluated up here, right?
I got it. I can't tell you again that the district is amazing. That's why you don't see me as often, because your appointment, Secretary Perdue, he recognized Volusia's growth, and he's working so closely with Nancy Kiefer. Actually, Nancy Kiefer and I had lunch with him. We explained everything that is going on. And after lunch, he said, Miriam, I just want to let you know, I would never disappoint Nancy Kiefer. So
wow.
Yeah, our president is all about the community, and we want to make sure that we get our fair share.
So Nancy, I'm sure you heard that. Jared said he doesn't want to disappoint you.
That's the best thing that I could hear as the chairman of our volunteer board. So, Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. I mean, I think with that, we could go ahead and wrap this one up. I know we've got another session to get to. Thank you so much for your time, Miriam. Thank you so much, as always, for your support of the chamber and for everything that you do for Volusia County.
All right. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.